original application that was put in by the original landowner, which sets out very explicitly the shop and the number of affordable housing and all of that. We haven't been able to change the description from what it is, so there's two things there. So currently we're having to look at doing something called deed modification for section 106, where we're trying to secure that all of the homes as affordable, and currently we're unable to do that due to planning. So we'll still be delivering them as affordable, but it won't be captured in section 106. I thought I'd just let you guys know that, because there's a case law that came out in 2019 that says you're not allowed to do that if the description of the development is explicit. The other thing that I've sort of raised with Darius already is that because the scheme is funded by Homes England do not allow us to impose local connection restrictions on shared ownership homes unless they're within a Policy 9 site, which is a rural exception site. And for whatever reason, this scheme, and it's probably because it's technically a brownfield site, is not classified as a rural exception site. So we're unable to impose local connection restrictions on the shared ownership. So we've done some work with our sales team, haven't we?
Yeah, so we've got a few different ideas of what we can come up with. We're going to do like a local targeted Facebook campaign. We want to try and do sort of newsletters, we can do letter drops, things like that. We've asked for any suggestions from Parish Council as well, sort of target more locally as much as we can. We can't do explicit local connection marketing, but there's quite a few different bits and bobs that we can do sort of around that to make sure that local people hear about it sort of before.
Yeah, it's something that we've had on quite a few schemes, and it came out in the capital funding guide, but it was actually missed by Cornwall Council. So we've gone through and sort of looked to do deed modifications to sort of impose local connection restrictions when we're delivering an affordable scheme. But it came out sort of late last year that we weren't able to do that. So we've been in negotiations with Cornwall Council and Homes England for the last 6 months.
Yeah, we've just sort of had confirmation that our section 73 can now progress because they've said our deed modification cannot. So we've literally heard about that yesterday. Yeah. So we're still trying to push that one through.
Yeah. So I appreciate that it's disappointing. You know, if we're trying to deliver affordable housing, we can't put a local connection restriction on there. My personal view is we should be, but the government says otherwise. So it's probably something I think that, you know, I don't know if you could raise it or anyone else can, but it's something in the capital funding guidance. It's absolutely explicit that we're unable to do it. So just wanted to let everybody know that.
A couple of things, if I may, Chairman.
I close the meeting, we're not in a meeting.
No, but you're still Chair. So I'll be polite. And happy to, through the community group, Facebook page, whatever. I know Sue will share everything, and this Sue as well. There's quite a readership there, so we can help you put the message out. On the other hand, we had a gentleman here earlier today who wanted to know why you were building the houses in different places when you hadn't had the permission to do so.
Yep. And
also the fact that suddenly, right looking into his house, he's got a dormer window that wasn't meant to be there originally.
Is he talking about the 3-storey 4-bed potentially?
Probably,
Yes, he said none of them were 3-storey on the original plan.
We haven't changed any houses at all. So for the Section 73 application, we had to make a decision whether we continued at risk or not. So it's Coastline and the developer's risk. We'd have discussions with Patrick James, who've obviously been in communication with him the whole time. And the Section 73 was going to be determined, and then this whole thing about the shared ownership came about. So we made the decision, because we didn't want to delay the scheme anymore and the delivery of homes, to go ahead. Patrick's fully aware, you know, I spoke to Patrick literally last week, so he's aware that what we're doing, and we're just waiting for it to come through, and he confirmed on Friday that he would be bringing that through. I tried to get an update today, but he's on leave until Friday, so once I've got that, I'll let you know. So that's why the housing is in a slightly different place. So I did try and print off a plan, but my printer's not working. But everything's obviously on the portal. It's totally there for public consumption. Yeah, we can send anything. But the main change is where the community parking was originally. So if you're looking sort of to drive into the scheme. The community parking was originally on the left-hand side, just below the hall, and that's now on the other side of the road, and so the houses and the parking have switched, and that's purely down to some drainage issues that we had.
So this 3-storey, 4-bedroom house, is that actually on the original plans?
Yeah, I believe so. We've not made any
So
changes
was
to
that one of the buildings that you've moved across the road?
No. No, so the 4-bedroom house is down the bottom. So I don't know if you guys are aware, there's like a property there with a bat, sort of roost, that's it, thank you. It's a bat roost, and it's just a couple of properties up from there, so we haven't changed that one at all.
And it was on the original plan?
Yeah, and we haven't changed the mix or anything like that, so the mix is as it is. So obviously all of the plans are on the portal, so I can send them through, we can send them through if that helps.
And you did say that if councillors were interested, they could visit at some time.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm sure they would love to come and see.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's coming along quite well. at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, we were down there last week, the week before, I think. So yeah, they're making really good progress across the site. But yeah, we can look to get people down now. Things are sort of easing and things like that. It makes it a little bit more easy. But yeah, our site manager's more than happy to have people down and stuff. People let us know.
Rather than have people just appearing whatever.
Yeah.
If you could give us perhaps a date or perhaps 2 dates to make sure that people have got an alternative.
Yeah, if you've got any
Yeah.
sort of time frames in
And
mind
then
or anything.
I can circulate them and people can choose which ones they would like to turn up at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. I'll speak to the site manager and see if they've got any sort of major work going on or anything. Because yeah, we'll keep everyone safe on site. But, yeah.
And I know when Ronnie was in post, we did talk about doing some like coming soon adverts for the rented properties as well, because obviously I appreciate we need to make sure people are on home choice, so maybe if you're willing to sort of help us with that and just get the word out.
Well, as I say, we've got the parish council Facebook page, the community group Facebook page, and various personal ones that are well watched. So
Yeah, that would be
yeah.
great.
So if you can let us have what you want put up, we will put them up on the site
Brilliant.
and make sure that people do know.
Thank you. It's really helpful. It's always good to get local sort of in, because we always find, don't we, when we sort of allocate the property, local families like, oh, I didn't know. And it's like, oh. So we just want to make sure that we get the word out as soon as possible.
Yeah, there's a few bits and things that people need to do sort of in advance of trying to get the properties. So yeah, it's just making sure.
I have a question, if I may. I was contacted yesterday by the architect that did the original plans for, is it the 2019 planning application? 2018-2019, the original set of plans. He was absolutely clear in his belief that the plans that he was responsible for drawing up and submitting and gaining consent for, the building that is currently taking place is not in accordance with those plans, and that there is no current planning permission for the building that is currently taking place. I haven't seen those details. I wonder if I might take your contact details, join you two up, and that would certainly answer the question that you may or may not have catched at the beginning from Mr. Banbury.
Yeah, I can.
Is that possible?
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, we've obviously got a new architect on the scheme that has been appointed by the contractor, and we're running a Section 73 application, so that's what is for the physical changes.
Yeah, but there's no details, there's no elevations, there's no site plan, there's nothing listed on Cornwall Council's planning page for that later planning amendment.
All right, okay, that's
So there is a disconnect there, and it would be worthwhile trying to iron that one out.
Yeah, that's fine.
On a second point, as was raised at last month's parish council meeting, there was a parishioner that raised a question about Section 106 commitments. This parish council had no idea any detail of that actually. They obviously hadn't read the Section 106 agreement. I wonder if you could provide a brief overview of the finances, the timescale and the facilities that are already agreed in the original planning application by Section 106 agreement.
So the original Section 106 agreement stands in its current form. You can't make changes to that. That's the case law, so you can't use deed modifications to change that. The original Section 106 has provision obviously for the public open space, which
Yeah.
we're delivering, and we've been in communication with the parish council about some benches to put in, things like that.
What were the timelines, locations, the financial allocations, that kind of granular detail? None of that, is any of that available at this stage?
Yeah, it's all in section 106.
Yeah, I've read it.
So it's all in there.
So-
We're duty bound to.
So what's the time
provide
scale
that.
on delivery
Of the scheme?
of the section 106, of the improvements, the uplifts?
Not quite sure what you mean. So the public open space on
Yeah.
site will be delivered as part of the development and will be provided at completion of the development.
Okay.
So that's that one.
Yeah.
You've then got off-site public open space contributions, and you've also got off-site education contributions.
Yeah.
So both of those figures, you've got the off-site public open space, which is only for the open for the affordable and the open market units there, as they're currently designated. And you've also got off-site education contributions for open market properties. I can give you the breakdown if you want, I can send it through, but there'll be triggers within the section 106 that we obviously need to pay them by. That's one of the things that has come about from the deed of modification. So historically, and if the description of the development wasn't as explicit, then we would only be paying the affordable provisions, so the public open space, which I think is about £216 per property.
Yeah.
But because of the explicit description of the development, and because we cannot change that, that's in law, we can't change that, we are now liable to pay the open market contributions as well for the affordable scheme. So as it currently stands, all of the payments required under the section 106 on the current planning, so the mix of like the 5 affordable rent, I think is a 3 shared ownership, and then the rest open market, that's the level that we have to pay on.
Brilliant.
And all of the triggers in there are as per the section 106.
Okay, lovely,
So
thank you.
If in future, if you were going to look at sort of a development, which is something that we've learned as well, and this is something that apparently has only happened a handful of times, in the explicit description of the development, if in there it states 5 affordable rent, 3 shared ownership, you cannot change that unless you go in for a brand new application. And obviously we don't do that because we're a housing association. If it's got a consent, we'll make some changes as needed. We don't usually go in for a full application. So we're currently going to have to pay the full contribution levels for an open market scheme.
That was a question. Did the later application have any sort of detrimental effect upon the original section 106?
So it's unable to do that. So
yeah,
there's
brilliant.
case law from 2019 that are unable to change it if the explicit description is there. Which for an affordable housing provider is a little bit difficult, but obviously it's there to protect sort of open markets. So if you know, they can't argue those down really.
That's great, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone?